2 or 3 things that are X. And a lot of this you guys will see on step 9 is, it's really about questions. You know, this is about asking great questions. Asking better questions than other people. Asking questions in a frame of reference or in a structure or a sequence that lets people figure out what they're doing in ways you can help them. Deflect, defer, and disclose is a good one. Type of examples, what are the top 2 or 3 things you're working on? What are the 2 most passionate items? What are the 3 things that are causing you the most pain? You know, again, I just did this, I've got so many examples. I just did this at CES, which is a consumer electronics show. Some people may know it's a different world from some of you guys, but in Vegas, 126,000 people. And I ended up playing pool at 2 in the morning with Tony Romo and some other guys I knew. Some of you guys may know he's a football player.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm from Dallas, but still.
Yeah. Tony just likes my big bamboo analogy because he's not sure. But anyway, but Tony was involved in Under Armour. And the point was I ended up playing pool with the CIO of Under Armour. Which is kind of cool. A guy named Paul. I was like, oh. Paul and I were talking and I asked him this. I said, Paul, I'm just curious. As CIO of Under Armour, I really don't know what that means. So, like this year, coming up 2016, what are the 2 or 3 biggest problems you're trying to get accomplished? Like, what are the big things a CIO focuses on? And he was interesting because he had the answer. He's like, wow. He goes, well, number 1, we're trying to go from $4 billion to $7 billion in revenue, so I got to completely figure my inventory system out. Number 2, we think we want to move internationally, but we really don't know how to do it. Number 3, we've got a whole new SAP system for supply chain management, and I can't figure that one out. And number 4, we're looking at disaster management and recovery because if something happens at any one of our plants, it'll pull us offline and kill my numbers. I was like, wow, I got 4 guys for you. I got the head of logistics who created this. I've got the head of disaster management at IBM. And he's looking, this is 2:30 in the morning, 2 or 2:30 in Vegas. But I asked him a specific question. He gave me a specific answer. I'm like, hey, I think I can help you. You know, so again, it's just how you ask the questions, and you never know. It's completely random, his answers, but I happen to know people that could help him. And that's what this is designed to show you. We're going to wrap up. This just says, doesn't matter how many resources you have, if you don't know how to use them, it's never enough. It's a guy trying to climb over a wall with a bunch of ladders, just doesn't know how to use them. Experience is the greatest teacher. Anybody ever heard that? Experience, great teacher. Yeah, it's also the slowest. That's why you guys are in school. That's why you're going through this, you know, on a Monday night down here. We're trying to accelerate our experience. And there's lots of great ways to do that. Books, classes, there's so many videos out there now. There's TED Talks, there's so much information. There's biographies, there's so much you can learn to accelerate your experience and not wait 3, 4, 5, 10 years to earn it. Right? Earn it in a quicker way by taking responsibility. One of my sayings, and you'll see some of it at the end, the only place success comes before failure is in the dictionary. That's not right. I just thought about that. The only place success comes before... My quote's screwed up there. I'll have to go back to that one. The only place failure comes before success. I don't know. I have to go back on that one. Moving on. Eat like a bird, poop like an elephant. Anybody ever heard that before? Again, some of these go over great in the South. LA, they're a little different. Here's the point of this one. Again, it goes back to the slides. All these things build on each other. A bird consumes 50% of its weight on a daily basis. You wouldn't think of it. Birds eat a ton of food. Eat like a bird means take in a lot of information. Read, study, videos, biographies, read. Poop like an elephant means how do you share that information out? Just means if you learn information, figure out how to share it with other people. Right? If there's techniques and tips and things you learn by taking it in, learn how to share it. That's all that's designed to show. Become a good negotiator. This one will serve you guys well. Any of you ever had an offer put in front of you or ever had to negotiate a contract? All right. I learned some of these, but I didn't learn them soon enough. If I would have known the one I'm about to teach you when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, somewhere in there, this one cost me, not to put numbers on it, the technique I'm about to teach you cost me probably $350 million. On a public company we had. In retrospect, when I dissect what went wrong in that negotiation. It came down to one key second. And I didn't know this technique and I blew it. All right, so I'm going to teach you guys. Who wants to role play with me though on this one? This one's super easy. Who hasn't? Rob, right?
Yeah.
So I'm about to try and sell a car. So Rob's coming in, I'm selling a car, and got the car listed for $10,000. All right, so Rob and I are going to negotiate on this car. I want you guys to pay attention to the points where I tell you to and think about what you're thinking at that exact moment. So Rob comes in, here's my beautiful car, it's all set up, brown, shiny, and nice.
That's all right.
And I want you to make an offer of $7,000. All right, so come in, hey Rob, here's my car, it's $10,000, what do you think?
Oh, it is great. Although it's not, I saw a better shade of brown at the dealership across the street, and they were doing that one for $7,500. So I can do $7,000.
Okay, I'll take it. What's going through any of your mind right now?
That was too
Should've
easy.
gone low.
Should have got it for less. Should have asked for 5. What's wrong with the car? Doesn't matter what his offer was. If I took it too fast, instantly we already doubt ourselves and think we could have got it for less. Right? And Rob's either watched Pawn Stars with me because he's, he knows how to beat me down before we start. Most people don't, but that was good. But regardless, I didn't flinch. All right? So if we did it again a little quicker, Rob will offer me 7,000. It's 10. Rob, what do you think? Offer me 7.
7,500.
Man, this car's been, it's been great for me. I've got a lot to, I just don't think I could do 7,500. Yeah, I could maybe do 9. Just the fact that I'm already flinching, I'm on negotiation. Even if we end up at 7,500, Rob's going to feel better about the purchase because I flinched at the beginning. The reality is I could probably get him up off 7,500 because I flinched. I could get him maybe to 8. The point is I probably only wanted 6, so I asked for 10. And even at 8, I win. The point is, you've always got to flinch on a negotiation. Somebody puts an offer in front of you, flinch. Even if it's more than you wanted, flinch. Because either A, they may increase the offer, or B, they're going to feel bad that you flinched and then you got them even though they gave you more than you wanted. You want the other person to feel good about that decision. So flinch every time. It's huge. He who speaks first loses, and when asking the closing question, shut up. You've watched Pawn Stars, obviously, with
Yeah.
Rick and the boys, right? Good stuff. Anybody else seen Pawn Stars? Comes in. I've got a script here signed by Norm at USC, Steven Spielberg, and George Lucas. I know it's been authenticated. I've got my certificate of authentication here. Trust me on it. I want to sell it. What's the first question those guys ask? What do you want for it? So they put the onus back on me, right? So now I have to tell you what I want. Here's the point is, he who speaks first loses. The minute they make an offer, right? The Pawn Star guy's like, oh, you wanted 500 for that? Most I can do is 300. So here's my offer, 300. That's the closing question. They will shut up and just stand there and stare at the customer. The customer will fidget and twitch and, well, I don't know. He who speaks first loses. When you ask a closing question, right, when you make an offer, I'm trying to buy a car, I'll give you 7,000 for it, not 10. When you make that closing thing, you be quiet, and it will get uncomfortable. But the other person, when they talk, then you've got them in the negotiation. Right? And I've sat in some meetings 2 or 3 minutes just staring at the other person until they crumble. And I sat in one, the longest was 11 and a half minutes. And the reason was that I knew this and the other guy knew it. We've both been through sales training techniques. So he knew the minute I asked the question and I sat there, he wasn't about to say a word. And we stared at each other for 11 and a half minutes. And then finally we both just kind of started smiling and laughing and shook our head and like, okay, we're going to get this done. It's going to have to be because we talked. But we both knew. So the point is, just learn to flinch. And when you ask a question, just be quiet even if it becomes uncomfortable. Put the other person on. Wrapping up, this slide and then one more. A few of my truths. which, considering how I failed on the success and failure one, I'm still trying to work that one out. I'm going to fly through these. Greatest strength is your greatest weakness. Anybody know what their greatest strength is? All right, figure that one out. Oh, Keisha, you know what yours is? What do you think it is?
Dialogue.
Okay, cool. Hillary?
Intelligence.
Okay. Greatest strength is your greatest weakness. For me, my greatest strength is I can open any door. I can get to anybody at any level of any company or country anywhere in the world. Anybody I want to get to, I can get to them. I know it definitively. I've got to everybody in the world. There's still people I haven't that I want to, but I know I can get to them. And people are like, oh, well, why is that a weakness? Well, I'm good at opening the doors. I'm not good at closing them. For me, the minute I get, Red Bull interested in what we're doing, and I, sat down with Andy, I'm like, great. Now how do I get Starbucks? Let me get to Ben. How do I get the NFL? How do I get to Travis? How do I? It's like I don't go back and close things that I'm good at opening. So what I've had to learn about that is say I need to build teams around me of people that are good at executing, because I'm great at opening, I'm not good at closing. Right? So if it's intelligence, if it's dialogue, if it's storytelling, that's great, but there's something in there that's a weakness where you need other people around you to figure out how to make it better. Number 2, people do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure. That's why you sell more aspirin than vitamins. People make decisions emotionally and defend them logically. Ask not why, ask why not. Why won't this work? Why not I be the one they hire? Why not it be me that wins an Oscar? Right? Let me figure out why not it be me that gets these things done. If you say it, they doubt it. If they say it, it's true. This one's great in sales. It's great in negotiation. It's great when, if I ask you a question and then I wait for you to answer, if I say it, you doubt it. If you say it, it's true. If I say this is a great car, doesn't matter. If Rob says it's a great car, it is. Right? This is in relationships, right? You guys, half of you, most of you, all of you maybe can attest to this. Person tells you they love you, it doesn't matter until you say it back. Right? If you say it, they doubt it. If they say it, it's true. You got to get the other person to say it. 3 R's. This a lot of people have seen this as 3 C's. Kim typed it and changed it on me. But when you work with people, we're recognition motivated. Hierarchy of needs. So if somebody gives you help, somebody makes an introduction, give them recognition in front of other people. If I can give Norm credit for having me come down and speak and thank him for this, I try and do that, but I do that in front of other people because people love recognition, right? And you can just build curry that way. 2, referrals, try and help somebody. And 3, revenue, meaning if there's deals out there, like we're in business, sometimes I don't put my hand in the middle of deals, but sometimes there's big deals that gets done. If there's revenue there and you can pay somebody, pay them. The C's, if you look at it the other way, it's credit, contacts, and compensation. And credit means, give somebody credit for helping out. Questions are the key to the universe. That's why I was trying to go through isolation, specific questions. Begin with the end in mind. This is saying, again, back where we started, what do I want to be? How do I want to get there? Who do I need around me? He who speaks first loses. My favorite, 99% of the things you worry about never happen, so why worry? A lot of people spend tons of time worrying about things that just they have no control over, or they project and think things are going to happen, and most of the time they don't. That 1% is going to happen, that's what you deal with. And then finishing, these are networking techniques. So some of you guys actually said you do networking, right? Or you may, networking for jobs, things like this. So I'll give you some great techniques. Number 1, if I go to an event, I hate walking around in events, bouncing around, reading name tags. Oh, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? It's just infuriating. So if I don't know anybody at the event, I may go up to the host, right? The host job is to be a host. So I'll find the host and say, hey, thank you so much. I'm always, appreciative, but love to meet somebody that's here. Hey, here's what I'm working on. Who should I meet? And if I've done my tornado technique in my head, I know, based on the room, here's who I'm trying to meet. Here's the companies I work with. Here's the titles within. Who should I meet? Get that host, to do the work for you, but you have to give them enough direction. You can't say, oh, well, who should I meet? Right? Oh, I'm at the Sean Penn event at Montage. Well, hey, Sean, who's here that's important that I should meet? And you're like, everybody. So it's just being more specific. This one's fun, number 2. Stand by the speakers. Any of you guys gone to events, right? Panel of speakers, right? And when the panel's done, the guy steps off to the stage, and what does everybody do? They line up to talk to him. If you're one of those people standing in line, the person in front of you is looking ahead, so you're looking at the back of their head, person behind you is looking at the back of your head. You get no information. You have no idea what's going on. And you're standing in line, trudging like a troll towards the front to talk to some speaker. I go up, if this is the speaker, I'll walk up afterwards, and I'll just stand by. And it's a little weird. Sometimes they'll think it's kind of creepy, and they'll look over at you. But I'll just stand there. Sometimes I'll, be taking notes or something. But here's the point. If I stand by the speaker, there's a bunch of things going on. Number one, I learn how to answer questions. Right? There's something about how to be political when you've got a bunch of random people trying to sell you something that you probably aren't interested in. Right? Again, guys, I'm not trying to be an ass about it. It's just that the reality is there's people lined up and everybody's got the next great idea and most of them have no idea what they're doing. But I get to learn how the speaker handles himself in front of a large group of people. Number two, I learn how the speaker directs people around and what he's most interested in. Because when somebody's asking questions, that speaker will go, oh, well, yeah, we are working on that. Or, oh, that sounds interesting. Or, oh, you should talk to Joe. Or, oh, my assistant Mary's over there. Talk to her. She handles my calendar. So by the time 5, 10, 15, 20 people have gone through, I know a lot better way to phrase what I'm going to do if I talk to that person based on the way he's answered questions and where he's directing things. Number three, I have now heard the pitches of 30 random people standing in line. So rather than me bouncing around reading name tags, if every one of you had gone and talked to the speaker, you're all pitching your idea to the speaker. I now know what all these people do and I can pick who I want to talk to. So it makes my time much more efficient because now, like, oh, hey, Sasha's doing something pretty cool. I'm going to go track her down. Oh, Rob's in 20th century. I want him. And I'll pick the people because they're all pitching an idea. Much more efficient in my time. And then the fourth is when I do finally talk to the speaker, I can position what I'm doing based on that. And the example I always use, because this one was really, to me, it was fascinating because it was when I first started doing it and I wasn't sure it was going to work. And it was at a CAA event. It was actually at the big theater at CAA, and Bobby Kennedy was there, one of the Kennedys. And he's big with river keepers, and we were trying to do a water conservation product, and all these people were lined up. And one of them was Lisa Boyle from Plastic Pollution Coalition. She's the one who lobbied to get all of the plastic bags gone out of grocery stores, which some people like, some people think it was stupid. But her belief is plastic should be completely gone. She's fanatic about it. And here she is in front of Mr. Kennedy, and he's like, so political, he goes, that can never happen in our lifetime. There's steps you can take, but here's why. And he answered, and she was argumentative, and he was very political, but it was interesting. But by the time I went and talked to him, there was about 20 people, there was 2 or 3 left, and I kind of interjected in. I said, Mr. Kennedy, thank you so much for letting me listen to you. You've answered the questions great, but by the way, just real quick, your initiative you're working on with river keepers around saving water, the one that you said Joe was heading up, I've got a product that I think could really help you guys accomplish that goal. Would you mind if I talk to Joe? That was it. Because I knew Joe headed it up. Again, I made it all about him, you, I've got something that can help you. And he looked at me, he goes, do you have a pen? Yeah. He goes, give me your pen, give me your card. Handed him my business card, he writes on the back, here's my personal cell phone. He goes, just give me a call, let me hear what you're doing, and I'll put you in touch with Joe when we're done, but thank you very much. I was like, thank you. And he turned around and went right back in line. Now, I could have stood there with everybody else and pitched him, I would have had no idea, but it was a 30-second conversation. He gives me his personal cell phone because I knew what he wanted because I stood next to him. So it's about being hyper-efficient. If you can't do any of that, some of it you can't know your homework in advance. A lot of times I'm going to big events. Unfortunately, I get to do some cool stuff. TED, Clinton Global, Rockefeller Innovation. I'll send an email out. Hey, I'm going to be at the Clinton Global Initiative. Here's the list of the panel. If any of you guys are going to be there, let me know. Or if you know anybody on the panel, I'd love to meet them. And I end up leveraging my network to get introduced to people who are on the panel in advance of me going to the event. So then I'm no longer one of the people standing in line with my card hoping to talk to them. I'm getting credibly introduced. If none of that works, look for the puppy dog. There's a difference between puppy dogs and hawks. Puppy dogs in the networking event are the ones that are running up, talking to everybody, shaking their tail, wagging, collecting cards. Hawks are ones who stand back and pick who they want to meet. But the puppy dogs you can talk to. And then like I said, send the email in advance is a good one. whether you're doing it for the speakers or whether you just do your homework in advance to try and reach out to people. And I think that's it. So there's my information. Any of you guys that want the spread, not the spreadsheet, I'm in a different mode. The presentation or PowerPoint, I'll get it to you. And we'll do questions if you want, unless you guys are worn out and I can get out quick.
So Stephen will send the PowerPoint to me and I'll put it behind the password up on the blog so that you can grab it right from there.
Yeah, cool. All right, questions? Go ahead, Nate. I'm ready for you.
When you're meeting all these people and you're learning about what they need and who they are and what they do, are you taking notes or are you remembering this? I mean, do you have?
Do I have what?
I was going to say, do you have like a file of all the people and all the things they do that you can reference?
Yes, and yes. So I don't always take notes, but because of the way the tornado technique works, your mind can mentally remember certain things. So I can look at people, and if I've asked them the questions, I can remember enough about what they do off of those triggers. But this is what I was talking about with Norm a minute ago, that I have. So I have a database of, I don't even know what it is. What's the number up there? 15,759 contacts. And I can go back to, I mean, this is going all the way back to early days, 2006, working on the Olympics, Chuck Meade, Kirsten. I've got different people, Brunette, Anna Berman, Craigslist, renting a house. So I've got a different list where I keep track of people, where I met them. A lot of times who introduced me to them, where they were. I've got things organized in groups. So if I go to my groups, I can actually pull somebody up based on this person's in California, they're in Orange County, they're on my all global list, and they're also with Magmo. But I tag people in all these different groups. So if I'm going somewhere, like if I want to go to San Francisco, I can go to here, to my group, I can pull up San Francisco. Listen, I can hardly read this on this one anymore.
Was this inspired by
There we
the
go.
idea of the Farley file?
No, it was before that. It was back in the old days of the Franklin planners. So I could pull up San Francisco if I'm going. I have 782 contacts. I've got them in ID status based on which company they'd be interested in, how I met them, where. So a lot of times I can go back, and I won't go in the email, but it's actually, this works really cool. I was just in Chicago. I did an event in Chicago, and people got referred to me because I sent out to my whole list, right? Norman's on. I'm like, hey, I'll be in Chicago if you know anybody cool. A guy named David Bonifield got sent to me. And David, I was like, David, man, David's name sounds familiar. And I went, and I pulled it up. I'm like, oh, David. Shoot, I met David through John Jacobs in 1996 at Excalibur working on BelieveNet. So I'm like, David, are you the same David Bonifield who worked with John Jacobs that I met at Excalibur in 1996? And he's like, holy crap, yeah, I am that guy. All right, so I do keep track of it, but I've got a database where I do enter it in, as much information as I can. But also mentally, I've got a decent memory to be able to connect dots on it. So, other questions? Yeah.
How do you use this kind of thing when you're in an in-person situation? Like you meet someone and you think like, oh, I wish I had my file so I could pull up this thing that's like on the tip of my tongue, but I can't. How do you deal with that kind of situation? Do you just ignore that and move on to...
You're talking about this kind of information?
Yes.
This syncs out to my phone. So I've been in meetings with people. I'll be like, I think I've met this guy before. Holy crap, I met Amir at Clinton Global Initiative at 2:30 in the morning with the Director of Commerce. Amir, do you remember when we were at the Sheraton? I met you at 2:30 with Clinton, when Clinton went walking by with Cindy McCullough. He's like, oh, we were on the couch with... I'm like, yeah. So no, this all syncs out to my phone. So my memory's good, but it's not that good. But yeah, I'll pull it up sometimes just to see where I met somebody. And I mean, this goes back to 1996, 97. And some of them are funny. I mean, I've got notes in here from Yahoo. We were trying to do a deal with Yahoo in 1997. We had an e-commerce company, and I've got notes from the director at Yahoo saying, we don't believe in e-commerce, it'll never be a big deal. Because they were just a directory. You know, I've got notes from Jeff Bezos when Jeff and I met when he was the bookstore. You know, he wasn't even Amazon. Amazon was the bookstore because all Jeff was selling was books out of Seattle and nobody had a clue. So I've got stuff going back those years. It's kind of fun to pull up, but this takes time too though. I'll come out of a conference with 30 or 40 names, and I mean, it takes an hour and a half to put them in, but then I have it. And when I need to pull it up, I can. So, yeah, Rob.
So as someone who's so insanely networked, what are the 1 to 2 things that you're currently looking to accomplish?
Yeah,
Do you still have problems?
No, I appreciate it. So that's, again, not to be self-serving on it, but the one I am working on now is Magmo. So this one, this is a photo sharing tool we're getting ready to launch. And my wish list of partners is much longer than that. I mean, we're trying to talk to Kris Jenner. And the reason I want Ryan is Ryan actually oversees Kris and the whole Jenner Kardashian stuff, but he also has television, he has radio. He's got the Dick Clark ball drop, and we're doing a deal with Dick Clark Productions, so I'm circling the wagon. But for Magmo, we're looking for brands. Anybody that's a musician, an artist, film, book author, if they have more than 1 million followers, Instagrammers, YouTubers, people like that, we've got a tool that'll let them kind of promote themselves. So social media directors, business managers, music managers, you know, I mean, I appreciate you asking. I could get more specific, but those are, you know, that's why Scooter Braun's interesting, because what he did with Justin. Troy was cool with Gaga before he left. Red Light Management, Paradigm, you know, Chris Saka at Lightspeed, Ovitz with Chris, not you know, the dad, but that. Peter Chernin. I mean, again, but I asked for big guys, but those are guys who are somewhat relevant. I wanted Ben Silverberg, but I actually knew Ben, but instead I got Jordan Hoffner, who's his president at Electus. And again, this, you guys may know these, you may not. It's kind of like when, you know, I was talking to Nate. I may not know the people. Same thing, if I'm rattling off a bunch of names, you may not know them. It's okay, somebody else will. I'd rather be specific to get referred to the people I want and need rather than saying, oh, you know. Because my other answer, Rob, would be, oh, well, who do you know that shares photos? Any of you guys take pictures and share pictures? Right, great, you're all my audience. I have a tool that'll revolutionize your world. It's amazing. Lets you build stories, click, share, it's beautiful. You're not, I can give it to you guys, you're not my target. My target is a guy with 40 million followers. So I just need to be more specific in what I ask. I can help everybody, but I'm targeted down to entertainment. Cool. So, yeah. Other questions? Yeah. Oh, you got off easy. Not one question the whole time. I didn't pick on you. Go ahead.
You had some interesting thing about 10 things that you want out of your life, and if you don't, the job or the opportunity doesn't meet those. What is? Can you talk about that?
What are those? Oh, now you're gonna get personal.
Or
yeah, you know what? I'll share them with you. You know what she's talking about? Like I've got a criteria of things I measure against. I'll share some of them with you, and I'll share number one. I don't have time to go through it all, but number one is: have you guys ever thought about being financially independent? Right. So some of you are laughing. All right, well, what's that mean? What's a number?
Of being financially independent? 100,000.
Then you haven't really thought about it. That's my point. Like, oh, of course I want to be. What's your number? Oh, 100,000. That's not financially independent. That's poverty in LA.
Well,
but here's my point. I wasn't meaning to pick on you. So this concept of financial independence is part of this whole step of you've got to have a number that says if I were to have X amount of money, I can live off the interest and to maintain my standard of living and my lifestyle. Well, what do I want my lifestyle to be like? So now we got to figure out what do we want our lifestyle? Is it 100,000 a year, 200, 500, a million? Do you want 4 houses, 6, 10, one big one? I don't know, but if you haven't ever thought about it, you can't figure out how to get there. So you got to figure out what a financial independent number is. It says if I had X amount of money, then I could do all these great things with my life. And then you have to do what's called a shift, right? And the shift, let's not to pick on Nate, but let's say Nate's number was 100,000 a year, right? Just to make it up. So he needs to have, with interest and stuff, interest rates are so low, it's horrible. But let's say he needs to have $2 million saved, and the interest off that over time, he would give him about $100,000 a year. So his real financial independence goal is $2 million. That make sense? That's selfish. So here's what I mean by shift. Psychologically, people are like, oh, well, I don't need more money. I don't want to seem selfish. Bull. Are your mother and father alive?
Yes.
It's always a tricky question. Like an attorney, don't ask, you don't know the answer. 'Cause I said that before and somebody's like, no. It's like, sorry. If you have more money, would you do something for your parents?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever thought about what?
Yeah.
Okay. I have. I know how I would retire them. I know how I'd pay their house off. I know which cars I'd put in the driveway with the bows, what color the bows would be. Wouldn't tell them. I know what day it would show up. Right? So if you had more money, what would you do for your mother and father, brother, sister, niece, nephew? What would you do for colleges? What would you do for charities? Right? So you've got to have this number that's bigger than your own so you don't feel guilty about trying to accomplish money, because it's not about money. It's about what you do with others, for others. Money makes you more of what you already are. If you have a lot of money and you're an ass, you're a big ass. If you're a bitch with money. But if you're generous, you are super generous. All right? So step one is figuring out what this number is. And then once you have that, you say, oh, if I had all this money, what do I want the rest of my life to be like? So here's my point is, I have a number, and I screwed it up the first time. And that's what I'll share with you guys real quick. So when I was 24, that's when I really started learning a lot of this. Was going through sales training. I was selling insurance at night. Insurance, mutual funds, and mortgages. Full commission. Does that sound like a good deal to you guys? Give me 5 minutes, I could get you involved. Because I'd figure out what your hopes and dreams were and what your goals were, and I would show you how you could accomplish it all with me, and I would just psychologically manipulate you into believing you could do it. So I got really good at doing that to other people. So I learned how to set goals. So my goal was to have a company worth $1 billion when I was 33. All right, so I'm going to start there, then I'll share the rest of them with you. Wanted a company worth $1 billion when I was 33. And when I turned 33, Virtual Sellers, which was my first internet company, was worth $980 million. We took it public, it went up. Right. So does it sound like I accomplished my goal? I asked for the wrong thing. Having a company worth X, when Stephen is worth Y, as in, why do I own so little stock? Why am I worth less money than the whole company? Why can't I sell my stock? Why am I under a 144 restriction, which means I can't sell my stock? Why is the market dropping? Why is there a thing called a technology bubble? I'm in my 30s. I don't know what a bubble is. So the point of being specific was I asked for a company worth X, had nothing to do with my personal net worth. So I had to reset and go back and go, all right, let's move out another 10 years and say, I want a personal net worth of X. So to your question, number one, I have a personal net worth that is a very big number. Has nothing to do with me. If I ever hit that goal, I'd never spend it in my lifetime, but I'd spend it on everybody else. So that was number one. Number two, I like building companies to help other people be more successful. Right? I was in financial services. My goal was to convince you to come work for me by manipulating and emotionally getting you involved. I don't like that anymore. I create companies to help other people be successful. Number three, I like hanging around successful people. I like entertainers. I like business owners. I like authors. I like Nobel Peace Prize winners. I like dressing up and wearing cufflinks. I just like being around those kind of people. Not that I want anything from them, but I wanted to build companies that allowed me to be around those kinds of people. Other people love creative. Like I've got friends who are musicians who love playing in dive bars at night because that's just what they love. I've got friends that love surfing. It's what kind of people do you want to be around? So that was a big one for me, is helping other people be successful. I don't like products. I've sold products before. I had watch stores when I was in college. I don't like products. I like technology. I like things that are scalable. I like things that are global. I wanted to be able to run a company from a boat in the middle of the Atlantic on a laptop. Now here's why that was important. Number one, I hate boating. It wasn't the concept that I wanted to be on some boat. It was I wanted the freedom to be able to run a company without having to be there. Because in college I looked at being a doctor and an attorney. I don't like being in an office. Right? So I want a company where I'm not tied down to an office. I have a list of all these things, But the big one is the financial goal, helping other people be successful, the kinds of people I want to be around. So when I look at these companies, like one of them is they're trying to get me to write another book. With all this content, I'm probably going to do another book called The Tornado Technique. I don't want to be a book author. Last thing I want to do is be signing books at Barnes and Nobles in Iowa in the middle of the winter. No way. But I'm conflicted because I like the content, I like sharing it, but from a trajectory for me to put the time in to be a book author, it doesn't meet enough of the things I want on the list. Right, so that's a few of them. I mean, there's 8 or 9 or 10, some are health related to get me in that 12 because I didn't want things that were stressful to me, stuff like that. But those are the big ones. Personal financial goal, helping other people be successful, kinds of people I want to be around. I don't like product, I like service, I like technology, I like things at scale, stuff like that. Other questions? All right, one more and we'll cut it off.
When we were talking about how we would describe like editors, storyteller sounds kind of vague. You know, how would you like describe it if you were an editor? How would you?
I don't know what an editor is. I mean, I don't like my friend John Pattison. Norm knows him all the time. All he's doing is complaining about how long his editors are taking to redo some film he shot for USC, and it takes. I'm like, I don't know enough about what an editor really does. You guys did a good job, like putting the Chiron word things in one of my videos. I know that probably has something to do with it.
That's slowly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to be vague. I don't know how to describe it because I don't really know enough about what it is. I know I send my videos off and sometimes they come back really cool and editors have something to do with it, but I don't. It goes in a box and comes out. I don't know.
So we'll talk more about this in another 6 weeks or so when we do that other unit. But I will say that one semester, one year when you came in, you did a different sort of thing where that you asked people pretty much that question. So what do you want to be when you grow up kind of question. And that the answers and the process to move away from the answers is very revealing because everybody was very general. I want to be an editor. And so some of the questions you asked were, without even knowing precisely what an editor does, what kind of editor? For what kind of companies? What kind of material? And so it was always about getting more specific in isolation.
Yeah, movie, film, TV, music. It's like being more specific. I'll give you, this isn't exactly answering your question, but it's along the lines of the point Norman has is, I did this with a friend of mine about winning an Oscar. It's kind of the same thing. She's like, oh, I want to win an Oscar, and she was going and taking acting classes and wanted to be an actor, and I was trying to help her, and she had a daughter, and she's like, I want to be a great mom. I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. Let's get specific. And the point with the Oscar was very revealing. Said, I want to win an Oscar, and I said, no, you really don't. No, I do. I want to win an Oscar. I'm like, trust me, you don't want to win an Oscar. You're going to win an Oscar within the next 2 or 3 years, I guarantee it, and you're going to hate your life. No. And I said, okay. Here was the point. She helped found a company that's actually gone really huge now called Legendary Pictures or Legendary something. She was like with the early guys and was part of that with Legendary and and some stuff happened and she didn't want to be there. She wanted to be an actor. And I said, here's what's going to happen. Sometime within the next 2 or 3 years, that company's going to win an Oscar, probably on Saturday and not Sunday, which is when a bunch of the technical, you guys know there's technical awards on Saturday that nobody, I said, trust me, you're going to win an award on Saturday for best costume design, best sandstorm on a set, I don't know, but it's going to be some dumb Oscar and you're going to be standing up there with everybody else on stage winning an Oscar for something you think sucks. And the point was, if you want to win an Oscar, for what? Best leading actress, best supporting actress, best leading actress in a drama. I want to win an Oscar as a best leading actress in a drama like this person, this person, this person, and this person's done before me. That's specific. As an editor, I don't know. Do you want to be an editor like Margaret on Mad Max or something different or TV? It's just how do you get more specific where you say, here's what I want my career path to be like. Doesn't mean it's going to end up that way, doesn't mean you limit other opportunities. It just means the more specific you are in that outcome, the more people will be able to help you because they'll better understand what you're trying to do. If you want to be an editor like Margaret and win on a movie, and more people know that, there's more people that can help you because they know that's what you want, versus vaguely being an editor, which somebody like me doesn't understand. And so I hope that helps. This one's tough, guys. This one, it takes some sequence, it takes some process. It really, people think they're specific and they really aren't. And you really just have to learn how to drill down. And that's what this was designed to do. This one, these two slides here. What's your vision? What do you need to move ahead? What's your success? Learn how to articulate it, learn how to be specific. Again, the more specific you are, the more that'll come across in what you're talking to people to help you. And it also moves over into the secret. You guys know secret, law of attraction, all that. When you start thinking about this, your mind actually resonates at electricity. Every thought we think releases thoughts. So the more specific you are, it's like the difference when you're watching a video of somebody sleeping, right? The little LEDs, what are called electroencephalographs, the EEG, measures sort of brain waves, and when you're sleeping, REM, the needles barely move, and when you're having a nightmare, the needles go crazy. Right? Have you guys seen that, what I'm talking about on TV? That needle is going crazy because it's measuring that nightmare in your head, which is releasing electrical thought. Every thought you think releases electricity. The more specific it is, the stronger that thought is that's being released. That's why the needle's moving, you're having a nightmare. And when you wake up, your body doesn't know if it's real or not, so you wake up from a nightmare and think, wow, I feel like I was just there. That's what this is trying to do. You need to feel every day that you've already accomplished all these things. And that's when people will be able to start helping you. It's about just really being specific around what you want and learning how, and more things will start happening than you guys will understand, because your mind will focus on it and it'll start attracting these things. But it can't do it when you say, I'm an editor. It's just too vague for the universe to help.
And so let me also add one other thing. And this is my own point of view on it, but I know a lot of people go like, well, this is mostly company oriented, right? This is about companies, and the answer is no, it's not. Because in certainly the 21st century, gone are the days where an editor or filmmaker will work in one place for their whole lives. So we are always selling ourselves, we're always entrepreneurs in a certain way. Whether we consider ourselves a company or whether we are working temporarily for a company or not. And we network like crazy. We have to do that. And a lot of the people who you network with, despite being in some form of the entertainment industry, and that's not always going to be that way. Sometimes you'll network with finance people, sometimes just who knows who's going to be at the events. You have to know how to present yourself. You have to know how to present what you do. And we are classically crappy at that. Just like unbelievably bad at it. So that's why I think what Steven says has exact repercussions for what we do and what you're going to need to do when you walk out of here. And by the way, don't wait until you walk out of here to start doing it like yesterday. As I'm sure you will be doing it. So, thank you so much. This is always
thank you guys.
invigorating.
Appreciate it.